Hello everyone, Irini Hara streaming from Oslo, Norway again here for the podcast Autism on 360 degrees. I come today with a second episode and this time I have a different guest, Samantha Brammer. Welcome Samantha. And
Hi.
she is 34 years old, a third generation that works with children in her family. She is a new mom, a newborn mom, and solo parent, and has also a third kid that is a foster kid that lives with her for 6 to 8 weeks at a time for support, education, and care. And she is considering herself an expert in supporting children and helping individuals overcome challenges. She's qualified at master level in degrees like psychology, teaching and early years education, pediatric nursing, general childcare, and maternity nursing. She also has a lot of experience in special needs and neurodivergence training. And she is also the owner of a company known as Unicorns and Lions, AS. As you see, I also have a unicorn right behind me. And she is saying that she tries to change the world by leading to make a positive difference to those that she gets opportunity to work with. So welcome again, Samantha. I'm very happy that you said yes, and I'm pretty sure it's already a challenge for you with three kids around and two newborn ones that are twins. So
Yes.
congratulations for this accomplishment. You're a very brave woman. Would you
Thank
like
you.
to tell us a little bit more about yourself or anything that you retain interesting for our public?
Yes, so I'm third generation to work with children. My parents and my grandparents fostered children.
Oh,
Um, and I chose education because I believed doesn't matter what the background of the child is, as a teacher in the classroom, I have the opportunity to make a difference to that child, whether they're hungry, whether they're coming from an abusive family, or whether they're a minority group, including neurodivergent. But then I discovered nannying when I was 19. I had premature baby twins as my first nanny family. The little babies, they were signed off from all of their specialists at a year and a half, and I've never looked back since. When I work with children and families directly, uh, I get to decide. There's no red tape. There's nobody sitting in an office that's never seen a child that gets to tell me what to do. It's just me and the family and the child, and I get to make that real difference. And I'm hoping by talking here today, I get to give a message to parents and families that they can do what they set out to do.
exactly. And you are from UK, right? You are native
Yes,
from UK, and you live in Norway, in Oslo nowadays.
yes.
Yes. Would you like to speak a little bit about your experience of a forester, of having to travel abroad, and now you are practically raising three children alone? I
Yes.
mean, I am also a single parent, and I only have one, and it feels so much sometimes. How do you feel your life now? How did you manage?
Oh, I'm very, very lucky. I love that I have twins. It was a decision to have a pregnancy and ended up with twins, so I feel very lucky and privileged. I feel like Oslo is a place to be with children, although there's some room for improvement, as there is with everywhere.
Always.
Um, I moved here intentionally to raise my children and to have a platform to do what I do in my job.
Very nice. So it feels quite easy to be here. You feel like
Super, super easy. I love it. I am so excited today. -6. I
oh,
can't wait for the snow. Uh,
we
I
are
already
all
looked at
pretty
ski
snow because
lessons.
yes, it feels weird to not have snow and to have so much cold.
Yes.
And you said that you also had among your experiences of work also interactions with families and kids with special needs. In this case, we
The
speak about autism and neurodivergence. Would you like to share with us some experiences?
Yes, the majority of the children that I work with have got neurodivergence. That could be gifted or it could be challenged, and challenged in a range of ways, from physical um, challenges to cognitive challenges to challenges in the environment. And as I said, my first job was with premature baby twins born at 26 weeks. They had every specialist. I taught them to sign, and by a year and a half, they were doing really well. And then after that, I went to work with new babies whose families were having problems, feeding them or getting them in a routine, or worried about their development. And then I've also worked with a wide range in different settings all over the world, royal families and families that need support but couldn't afford it, to make a difference to their children. And the special needs that I've worked with, I don't care about the labels that they have, but some of the children have had CP, autism, Asperger's, ADHD, and then also some of them have got many, many diagnoses, including, demand avoidance, pathological demand avoidance, behavior problems. And some of the children I work with have no label at all. Maybe they've been labeled as naughty or problem child. Um,
Society
you
likes
know,
labels. The educational and medical system, they like to label us and to put in boxes and categories, but we are
yes.
all diverse.
And you get two non neurodivergent, neurotypical people, and they are completely different. You get
Exactly.
two neurodivergent people with the same label, they are completely different. Siblings, completely different. Identical twins, completely different.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, the label doesn't actually matter. What matters is knowing that individual child, the individual person, what motivates them, and what I can do to support them.
Hmm. I would be curious to know because from my experience with autism, as my kid has this label on him, they actually put it highly functional type of autism with some numbers there that I don't understand. Um, I know that sometimes it's even difficult for an adult or sometimes even for the parents to connect with their child, either because it's non-speaker or non-verbal, or because the verbalization is very short, as it is for my son. We interact, but verbally he still struggles and I have to correct him a lot, and he sometimes just tells me one word and I already understand what he wants and things like that. So considering that sometimes communication can be a source of miscommunication and misunderstanding and a barrier between those who are caregivers and the child itself, what is your experience and what would be actually your advice for these people to increase the potential of a better communication? How do
Yeah.
you feel about it?
So I think for my advice to parents is, first of all, try to come to terms with the child that you have. Let go of the child that you thought you were going to have, and as quickly as you possibly can, going through all of the emotions and everything, come to accept the child that you have. And when you understand and accept the child as they are and can see them, then the connection will be much stronger. I also think ignore people that have seen your child for 1 hour and put a ceiling on what they might or might not achieve. How
Exactly.
do they know? There's no crystal ball, you
Yeah.
know, and there's no way to say your child will never talk, or your child will never do
Yeah.
this or will never do that. And that is very much the way that those professionals speak.
Yes.
They have to legally cover themselves. Um, so they can't give you false hope. But I would say to you, nobody knows what the future is. And then the next piece of advice would be to be with your child in their space, in their feelings, in their play. Start from them. And maybe rather than trying to correct them, you would want to um, model for them what you want to see. So show, use effortless learning where they have the opportunity to dip in and out of what you're trying to show them, of the language that you're trying to show them, but there's no right and wrong. It's a safe space to be with you. They can say that one word, or they can say 10 words or no words at all, and you're still there, you're still present, and you're still with them.
Yes. So you think that being more present and just accepting the other, in this case the child, is the reeling, or they are the ingredients for starting a good connection, a good communication.
Yes, and by accepting, I don't mean giving up.
Yes,
like I
of
said, we
course.
don't know what the future holds. We
Yes,
don't know what their potential is without trying and giving them all of the opportunities. So, yes, give them the opportunities to speak and to develop and to do all of the things that you would envision them doing. But at the same time, you need to understand they are their own person, they have their own operating system, their own way of seeing the world, and that is beautiful. That is perfect as it is. So when you are in the moment with them, trying to be with them in their place, then that connection will come.
yes. I would just advise you to try to fix the image because for me it's a little bit shaky.
Okay.
But we can, if yeah, to fix it because it gives me a little bit of anxiety to see you moving all the time, and it might
Yes.
happen with the others too. I was thinking that when I connected, before I connected with you, I actually connected with your company because I went, for some reason, there was a post of one of your events and was speaking about creative playground or something with playing, is what I remember. And then from that post, I saw it. I think it was one of the Facebook group where I'm part of, and it was something about neurodivergence in that group. And then I went to see your website and I started to read and I said, wow, this should be very interesting if I could have an interview with her. But I didn't know at the time that you have newborns and and you are in this situation. Would you like to speak about this kind of workshops that you are offering through your company? What actually is the purpose and how you think it can benefit or for these kids with autism or even for families that live with
Yes.
autism?
So when I return to work after maternity leave, I will be running the workshops again. They're all ability workshops and play groups. So the idea is that children who are gifted and children that are challenged and children that are completely unique from everybody else, they are all invited. It doesn't matter how neurodivergent or neurotypical your child is, you're welcome. And there should be things there for your child to engage in and to play and be interested in. So there will be multisensory toys, it will be smaller groups. We'll try to make sure that everything that is on offer is accessible, whether that is gluing and sticking, and you can make, glue and stick face if you want to, or snow person, or whatever it is that the activity is. But you can also just glue and stick or glue or just cut out the pieces or do whatever it is that your child wants to do with you. And then I thought it would be an opportunity for peer-to-peer support with the parents. So you're there with your child, you have other parents there that have children, and you can connect and say, this thing works for me, this thing doesn't work for me. And then in addition to that, I run workshops for parents. The workshops that I run for parents are going to be based around what parents need or have said they need. So I ran a behavior workshop where we look at, how do we support positive behavior or the behavior that you want to see in your child. And then I give tips and tricks about that, and we do a little bit of role play, and it's intended as an informative and memorable training experience. You can go home and then implement what works for you and your child.
Of course. So it's practically engaging the whole family, not only the kids themselves. But are you doing this alone? Because it feels quite a lot if you want to work with families and there are some difficulties.
Yes, I'm running it alone, but I have many years' experience, and I find that you're only as strong as your weakest team member. So I find it difficult to work sometimes with others that maybe have different experiences or are not as flexible around supporting individual needs. If I find somebody that wants to work alongside me, that would be amazing. But at the moment, I'm just running it by myself, and yeah, and I think it's a good way to reach more people. Everybody can't afford my services privately, and this is a group, and it's going to be cheaper for people to attend, and hopefully I can reach more people.
Yes. Interesting. I would be actually interested maybe in the future once you are back from
Yes.
your full-time job now. You have
Um,
an extra job after, of course.
I've
The
I've
experience
also
with that one.
noticed in Oslo there's not so many facilities for children with neurodivergence.
No.
In London you will see neurodivergence all over the place.
Okay.
Here, I rarely see somebody with
Yeah.
special needs outside. Like a physical disability. I've rarely seen anybody in a wheelchair. I've rarely seen anybody with behavior issues, headphones, any of it. I haven't seen anybody outside when I've been out with my children.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a platform for more facilities, but I'm also going to look at opening a metaverse for my company. So people that are less comfortable, maybe because of stigma or whatever, they feel less comfortable going in person. Hopefully, they'll be able to join online
Yeah.
in a platform where there will be training opportunities and opportunities to connect with other people as well. So
Yeah.
that's
That's actually
that's for the
something
future.
because
So
some people would probably prefer this. To be honest, in Norway, as I live here since 2016, and my son has been diagnosed in 2018, there are some opportunities because of this Autism Foreningen, which I'm a member of. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if you didn't, then I can actually help you to connect with them. And they organize also annual meetings with members. I've been in one of these in September where they actually brought some specialists and they spoke about many aspects of the life of autism. And they also have periodic meetings or activities like trips, bowling, trips with the boats, for example, on the fjord, bowling. We had some sessions of riding with horses at
lovely.
Arnaride Center and all sorts of things like that. So they are quite active in this field, and this might be a contact that you might want to have because you can actually collaborate with them probably. But it's
Yes.
true that in terms of information, at least from my experience, information and real support, like community support, there is not much. And I suppose that to a certain extent, some of this is because of the culture itself, which is a little bit, I don't know, it's not to offend anyone, but I really feel a little bit isolated. And it's not easy to create community. I've tried, and so to a certain extent, it was quite
Yes.
difficult. And then I had to reorient myself to other type of making community, even online. So there are some limitations that probably come from culture, and probably that's why in England you have more, because England might be a little
Yes.
more open towards
Even even in other
accepting that
parts of
this
the
has to be
world.
a commonplace, not something exceptional.
Yes, even in other parts of the world, there's many opportunities for children with neurodivergence. I worked also in Bahrain, and they had dance class, they had
Yes,
Halloween parties, they had everything on a weekly basis. So
yes,
these children had opportunities for socialization outside of their special school.
yes,
Um, and I think it's really important. So it's something that I'm trying to create here. I also think that the government has got a push to get neurodivergent people into work,
yeah,
and they haven't grasped
they're
that.
not there yet.
Therefore, you need to support them in the early years, and
Exactly,
when brain development is happening.
exactly.
So I hope to make a difference with
Yes,
that as well.
I'm pretty sure you will. Now that we are speaking us about politics a little bit and what is or is not present in Norway or other countries in terms of support group or support community and activities for neurodivergence, and you aim to support these people, how do you think you are going to organize this community? Because alone would be quite difficult having your own children and also working for the kids of others. Don't you think it's a little bit overwhelming? Or you
Not
already
at
have a
all.
plan?
Not at all. I worked for many years in London home educating. And in home education, if you don't have a class or a interest group or a social group that meets your child's needs, you create one. So, you reach out to people, you say, hey, we're going to the park for a picnic, come along. And when people don't have to actually do anything because it's already organized, I find that they will turn up. And from there, you can say, hey, what strengths have you got? What can you bring to the table? What can you teach my child? What can I teach your child? And
Exactly.
you create it from there. You just need that initial interest, and I'm sure people are interested. It's just about being brave enough to come out and say, okay, I'm going to go to that activity even though it's new and novel.
Yeah.
And then one person tells their friend and says, "Hey, we had a great time. My child, was included." And then from there, it's very easy. I am very confident with this aspect because I have organized things for children before.
Yes, you have experience.
Yes.
Would you like to speak a little bit of the importance of playing for children with special needs? Because as you said, and as we all know, many of them have some social difficulties in interacting and creating new friendships or new connections. Uh, how do you see this possible that creating something that is based on play or on a playful approach, maybe more, um, how to say, experimental to a certain extent, could actually support these situations or
Yes.
this kind of um kids?
I think you have to always start from the individual child. So if your child is interested in trains, let's get the train tracks out. Let's make a hall full of trains and run an opportunity for anybody else who's also interested in trains to come and join. They might just play alongside each other. They might just stay outside and look in through the door. They'll do what they're comfortable with, but starting with the child and their interests, that's the catalyst for them to develop and to learn and to progress, however that looks for them. I think it's true for everybody. If you're interested in something, you will engage in it. And if you're not interested, then you won't. And for children and people that have um, a very clear cut mindset, very black and white, very literal sometimes, if they're not interested, why would they? You know, why would they join in? Why would they attend? And also, having an annual event is great, but I want it to be a regular event so that they can come the first time, they can look in through the door and say yes or no, that's not for me, and then they can try again when they feel ready, and it will become familiar, routine. On a Wednesday night, they come to a play group. There's the same group of friends there, or people, or acquaintances, however they see the people. Um, and then that can develop again. But they need consistency, they need high quality play opportunities, and it needs to be interesting for them as an individual. I'm not talking about fitting a child into my environment. I'm
Yes.
talking about fitting the environment into the child, whatever that child
creating
needs. Yeah.
creating the playground and making it diverse so more can be interested in it. Yes.
Yes, and I think that expecting a child to fit into something that doesn't suit them, that's not okay. I think that we need to tailor the environment to them, and that's how they will excel and become their best selves.
Yes, because we also know that many of them have developed over time specific interests. For example, my son is very fond of animals. He has a lot of gorillas who are like the best friend. He even sleeps with one of them, with the gorilla. And he loves to travel, so he is also interested in all this transportation. Maybe a train or an airplane will stir some interest for him. And this is a way to grab the attention and then get him involved into something.
Yes.
I was actually suggesting to her teacher, because he's in a normal school we have here close our house, but they created, when he started school, a kind of special group that has also special education and program. And unfortunately, he's not developing or progressing the way I would like, or I would expect. And I was discussing in my last meeting with them, with the teacher, about trying to approach um, these methods they use to teach him reading or writing or other mathematics, to approach it in a different perspective where they actually can engage him through the lenses of his own interests.
Exactly.
He, for example, likes geography and he likes fairy tales. And I had at home so many, now that we are speaking about toys, this is actually interesting, I think, to speak about. I had so many toys, for example, the whole family of Peppa Pig from a game that I bought several months ago, and he doesn't play it anymore, and all sorts of animals and transportation means. And I took them at school, and I told to the teacher, use these to create stories, visual stories with real objects, because my son needs to understand the usefulness of reading. Otherwise, he doesn't get it. And if it's too abstract on paper, just some signs and symbols that he already knows, because he knows the vocabulary, he knows more than he expresses, right? But he cannot verbalize it or cannot explain what he knows, and they don't know how to take it out of him. So it's
Yes.
a clash of perspectives, in my opinion. So I said, change the perspective. You need to change the method. Make things appealing for him using the triggers that you know that he's interested in, and create the stories that he can put his hands on, not just
Yes.
on an abstract symbol on paper, because that might not mean anything for him. But if you show him there is an usefulness to read this, because in reality, Peppa Pig is the sister of brother or whatever is in the family, and then speak about the family, what each of the family members does, or what is the interaction between them, how one feels about another, then you already elevate the level of understanding to something else. So it
Yes.
was very difficult even for me to understand why this kind of approach is not very, how to say, not accepted, because probably they didn't even think about it, but is not normalized. Because I think this is the way that we should approach the learning process, to make those kids that have this difficulty in understanding certain things, why or how,
Make it relatable.
a relation with the reality, with their senses, because they are very much into
Yes.
also sensing, you know, with all the senses. So what, because I see that the system of education in Norway is a little bit stuck into a methodology that follows probably some regulations and some handbooks, but in practical, I think they mainly fail.
Yes,
It's in my
I think that school systems, that they're a little bit outdated. I think anything,
yes,
if you
exactly.
start with the interest of the child, for me, take the gorillas that your child is interested in and stack them all up and let's count them and add them together. There you go. There's your maths lesson. You
Yes,
know, if
exactly.
he's more able than that, let's look at the biology of the gorilla
Yes,
and go into the finer details of the science behind it.
yes,
Let's look at descriptive words for the gorilla. Let's
yes,
write a letter about saving gorillas. There's a million and one different things that are super fun and interesting that come to
yes,
mind that will accelerate your child's learning, no problem.
yes, yes,
Um, and this is how I do my job. This is
yeah,
this is how I get the child that I'm working with now. I've been with him for about 8 months. He was completely non-speaking. He was non-independent. He had lots of "he will never" labels attached to him from the specialists that saw him before. He speaks just fine. He's on full sentences just now. He's able to be independent with dressing and feeding, and he can tell us his ideas, and he's developed physically. And we just spend every single day having an absolute ball, following his interests, and using them as a way to motivate his learning and develop his thinking skills and to
yes,
practice his physical skills without him getting tired, because if we're practicing for something he's interested in, then he's motivated, then he's determined to do it, and he feels really proud when he's done it and he gains more confidence. If
exactly.
I'm at school and I'm saying, do this now just because, yeah,
Nothing
why?
happens. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is also my feeling, that the method doesn't work because he's not interested in the way they apply it, and it's even difficult to create a channel of proper communication when you just impose, let's do this because it has to be done this way, this is what the program includes, and blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yes.
but I find when I try to bring a new perspective, it's always difficult to convince people that that different perspective may actually work. So I don't know how this can change. Do you have any idea about how we can actually convince the system that there are alternatives that can work better than what they propose?
Sure, I'm hoping to be able to roll out training to schools, so to people, because I often find when I speak to individual teachers, individual organizers of schools, they say we would love to learn, we would love to have the answers, we'd love to make a difference to that individual child that we're failing.
Yes,
Um, and so I'm hoping to roll out training to the schools and say, hey, what about this? Because they spend so much energy on pushing the paper at the child, on making the child do it their way, that
mm,
they're losing lots of opportunity and,
yeah,
they're wasting their energy.
yeah, and it's
Whereas
just a
they,
repetition of tasks that don't go anywhere. They don't function.
yeah, they're just doing it to tick their boxes and that's it. And then
Yes,
the child is left behind. But I think, there's lots that they can do, and when they give it a try they will see that it makes it much easier because they're not managing poor behavior all day.
yes,
The child is then engaged and has so much to offer the world
yes,
that it
exactly.
becomes you know very easy to teach them. And yeah, so I hope people will reach out, and I hope to roll out my training to professionals as well, not only to
Yes,
parents and families, but to people that can actually implement it in their schools or in their classroom. Um, and it would be things like, maybe you need a visual timetable for your child. It might be that, you know, one person in the child's life has said this thing works, and it's about implementing that thing in the school.
yes.
Maybe they
Yes, as
need,
I did now with all these toys. I practically
yes.
carried a full package of toys and books and games, and I said, "Try it." I don't know what to ask for more, but try it this way. Maybe it works.
Yes. And I would like to get rid of the culture of it's not my responsibility. I think it's
Yeah,
everybody's
exactly.
responsibility.
Yes,
Every professional that's working with your child should be talking to the other professionals and
yes,
having continuity. And I think that the parents need to know that they have power. They have a voice. They know
yes,
their child very well and they can advocate for their child. And research
yes,
shows that when they do, the child has better outcomes than if they stay quiet
yes.
and just let the
Stay
school
quiet.
get on.
I
Um,
don't think that advocating and raising voice is very common in Norway, maybe in other countries. But I'm one of those that try to advocate and I meet a lot of resistance. That's why sometimes it feels a lonely place. But I'm willing to support others if others also willing to support me and then create this community that I feel it's still missing in this country in particular, or maybe even in Oslo because it's the capital and it's a little bit more chaotic than other places. So yes, we keep in touch because I think we could actually collaborate and try
yes,
to build up something together. I'm very pleased that you accepted this invitation. I think we are approaching more or less the end of this interview. Would you like to add anything that you retain important? It can also be an advice for parents or in general for anyone that works or whose life involves taking care of children, even not necessarily neurodivergent, but also in general.
yes. I'd like to share some of my favorite quotes or things that I've come across regarding autism. So, the first one is, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life feeling stupid. But everybody is genius. So if you ask the fish to swim and do what they're good
Unless
at,
the fish is able to grow some roots and then it evolves.
exactly.
But it's
Um,
not the fish aims in life.
exactly. So don't ask your child to be something that they're not, and don't allow other people to do that. I think the other one is, autism, you can think of it as a different operating system. We have iPhone and we have Android, and they're
Exactly.
both different operating systems and they're both great. Some people are Android lovers and some people are iPhone lovers. They both work, they're both fine. Um, they work in different ways, and that's okay.
Yes,
And it's okay that your child, his or her
different.
mind or their mind works differently, and that's fine. um and I think the last thing is, when I was doing my master's, I did research into parenting values. um and one parent said, when your child is 5, he or she can become an astronaut. And
Yes,
everybody's like, yes, you can become an astronaut. Maybe they're good at math, so then they get pushed into math. And then, of course they're good at math, so then they want to go into accounting, and they're pushed into banking or accounting, or some other mathematical astronaut has gone out the window.
Yeah, it
um
becomes very boring.
yeah,
Much
I
fun to
think
explore the space.
as your child grows, what they can become gets narrower and narrower because of
Yeah,
expectations placed upon them. And I think that as a parent, you should try your best to advocate for your child to have all of who they are,
exactly.
available to them to become the best that they can be, whatever that looks like for them, whatever makes them happy, whatever is going to work for them. And yeah, I think that's it. I think if you need support or help, feel free to reach out via my website. I'm currently on a break, but I would always try to do my
Yes,
best
I
to
will
help.
also place your contact data in the description of the episode on YouTube, so everyone interested can connect with you. I think you also work internationally, as you mentioned. You want to also approach online mentoring or courses
Yes.
to who's interested, which is also very good. And yes, I'm happy that I found you.
Thank
It
you.
was curious how I reached to you, and I'm happy you answered to this invitation. And yes, reach to her if you feel, I think she is the right one to actually connect with your child and support in whatever is needed. Of course, now she has her own children, so be a little bit patient, not all together at once. It might be overwhelming. But yes, I'm happy that we discussed, and I wish you all the best as a mother and
Thank
as a
you.
professional. And I will close here the interview. I'm also open to receive, let's call them letters or messages of interest for those who want to be guests in this podcast, Autism 360 Degrees. You can be a parent or a person that has been labeled in some way in this neurodivergent spectrum, or you can be a specialist or someone that has something to offer to support people on the spectrum. And subscribe to the channel, Irini Hara, so you can be notified when new content come up. The podcast is only one aspect of the channel, but I hope it will grow and evolve and will bring many interesting guests to share their wisdom, experiences, and offerings with us all. Thank you again. Enjoy the day ahead and the rest of the week. Bye bye.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.